Are on. We're going to stand for a moment of silence and pledge. Please keep those people out in the Midwest that suffered from that horrible tornado out west in your thoughts. So let's please stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. And now the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everyone. I'd like to call today's meeting to order. We'll do with the approval of the minutes of December 7th, 2021. Comments, additions, or motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
First and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. We'll continue now with Commissioners' reports. Vice President Baker.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Nice attendance in the chambers here this morning, and I'd like to welcome you to our meeting. Also, I'd like to, we're getting ready to get into the Christmas holidays, the New Year's holidays, and we'd like to wish all of the county employees and all of the citizens of Washington County a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Be safe and just have fun with your family and friends, and I'd just like to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. Also, I've received some information concerning early hire employees that were off due to COVID and the pandemic, for the pandemic and so forth, and they didn't have enough of time in to be able to utilize the sick bank leave. So possibly we could have staff bring us some information after the first of the year on the sick bank, and maybe we could look at some ways of possibly helping those new employees that weren't eligible for a sick leave bank that had to take off for COVID and the pandemic reasons. Okay. So I'd like for staff to bring some information back in January that possibly we could look at it and figure out a way to help those employees that had to take off without pay.
Yeah, I had a call on that too, and I think what same call we might have got, somebody's only been here 6 months and they've been exposed to COVID, and per our policy, they've had to go home, they've used their sick banks and they're not getting any paycheck, they can't pay their health care, but I think it's because of our policy. So I'm in agreement, maybe we can bring that in for review, how.
Yeah,
because I don't think our policy ever addressed the pandemic.
I don't. Yeah, obviously, when the sick bank and all that, I don't think we really. There was no anticipation of a pandemic.
Yeah, so that.
But our policy is, our policy is that when you're off, you do have to use your own time.
Yeah.
The newer one. So I'll get with staff. We'll talk about that. We'll come back in the first meeting in January and give you a report on how that all works and see if we.
Yeah,
we can make some changes.
That's good, because I don't. The pandemic was never considered in any of this for people. So, all right, thanks. Oh,
and I know the sick bank was addressed, the policy was addressed a while back, so maybe you could also, in your discussion, talk about the hours that were available, because I don't know if they donate now, do they?
I don't think they do. I don't think we do that anymore. I don't believe.
So we could talk about the policy hours that were available when we decided to adjust the policy, and then what we currently have, and maybe what we may need to do with the employees on as far as the sick leave bank.
Right. I'll go back. We'll go back and look at the history. I don't know all the history off the top of my head, but we'll go back and look at the history of that, and we can bring all that to you.
Okay.
And some options and things to do moving forward.
Okay. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's.
Thank you, Commissioner Kiefer.
Yes, I have several things. First, as Commissioner Baker said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. This is I believe our last meeting until January, and I would just like to thank the employees and our citizens for another tough year, but a year with some improvement, I think. And hopefully next year gets not just incrementally better, but much better in terms of COVID and things that we have to deal with as a community, as a nation. As a country, because things are getting more expensive too. I know this is going to be an expensive Christmas for many people, traveling will be expensive, gifts will be expensive, food is
You have an
expensive.
additional family expense as well, don't you?
Yeah, I tried to get out of this Christmas, but I don't think it's going to work. But, thanks to all of our employees for the hard work that you put in. I was a little disheartened to see an article in, I believe it was yesterday's Herald Mail, titled "Report Faults Washington County Emergency Response System After Firefighters Hurt in Fire." You know, first and foremost, yes, our system needs some improvement. We are far from perfect, but I think any organization lacks perfection. Things need to be changed, need to be improved, and I think this board has been working on it. But I don't like the tone that was taken with our volunteers. In particular, we have many volunteers across the county that do a fine job. Unfortunately, mistakes will happen, and unfortunately, in that line of work, a mistake isn't just fat fingering a number on a keyboard. It can be life and death. It can be an injury. But the commitment that our volunteers put into our county system is very important. Our volunteers keep our community safe. Make no mistake about it. I don't think this article did enough to highlight the important work that our volunteers do in the county. Improvements need to be made. The county is working on that, certainly. And for an article discussing a report that was shared with the commissioners to not even get a quote from the commissioners, I think is kind of interesting. That I wasn't contacted by the Herald Mail in this report. I know our staff was, and that's great. But again, I would like to highlight the work that our volunteers do, the countless hours that they put in. They risk their lives to save and protect our community. Again, mistakes were made in this incident. Thankfully, thank God, no one died. There were injuries, but this is certainly a learning opportunity, not just for our firefighters, but for our county as well. And I just don't like the lack of respect that was shown to our volunteers in that article. So I just wanted to comment on that as well. I had an opportunity last week to attend MACO along with Commissioner Burkett. And probably of the many courses I took, one of the demonstrations I saw, it wasn't a course, but a live demonstration of the next generation 911 was very interesting to see in different counties. I think there were about 7 counties that were participating, taking calls from their home counties in Cambridge, Maryland. The internet technology is just absolutely amazing with maps that they could see what was going on, where the calls were coming in from. And I know that's something that our 911 department is working on, upgrading our system. Not all counties in Maryland are actively working with the next generation 911, but we're getting that in place. And we've had some demonstrations and discussions over the years, but this was my first time to actually see active 911 in place. And to see that system and how it works, it is going to better protect our citizens. A way to call in if the caller doesn't know exactly where they are, or maybe they're on a cell phone and which cell phone tower does the call ping off of, and you don't know where they're calling in the county. It was just amazing to see. And again, with the technology, they were able to take calls in Cambridge, Maryland from all over the state of Maryland. And we could listen to those calls that were taking place, and it was amazing to see that help. I also took a refresher course in the Open Meetings Act, and I think that's something that maybe all of us from time to time should just review the open meeting requirements. I think there's some gray areas in how legislation, how laws are written, but I think it would be good for us all from time to time to get that refresher. I also took an employee relations course. I forget the exact title of it, but it reminded me that our county at one time had an annual training on sexual harassment and civility, and we've stopped that in the last few years. And the instructor who taught that course was an attorney, and he just impressed upon the participants how important it was to have training on a regular basis. And I know nobody likes to sit through a training class like that. You may think it's a waste of time, but I do think it's incumbent upon us as the leaders of the county to bring back our sexual harassment civility training, especially should an incident arise and we were lackadaisical in getting that training out to our employees. Through MACO, I know we can use our contacts through MACO. Through Legit, I believe it has online training opportunities. So in the past, we've brought in an attorney or someone to do live trainings. We videotape those trainings. There are opportunities to have that training online as well. So a little more convenient for the
Commissioner,
employees.
and also for our committees, because that's important that they have that as well.
Yeah.
So that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, I did, I know, I mean, a few years ago, all the committees, all the division directors, department heads, and commissioners, I know I got to sit in a couple of those different ones, so that was a few years ago. I don't think we've done any since then, and maybe that's because of COVID and some other things, but we will, I just made a note here, we'll make sure we get that training scheduled.
Very good. 2 more items here, and I'm sorry I'm lengthy. Commissioner Klein and I participated in a discussion with the Dolman Black Heritage Museum on Friday, and as you know, we have the Dolman Museum listed as an action item for our community lobbying coalition. Depending on the direction COVID takes, if we have our day in Annapolis next year, I would like us to make sure that we highlight the Dolman Museum, some of the requests that they have coming through from our legislators, if we could reach out to our local legislators, or just make a good impact down at the State House for the Dolman Museum. And Commissioner Birkin and I yesterday met with council members Brucci and Alshire with the City of Hagerstown for a 2+2 meeting. We talked about a variety of issues. I think maybe at a later date we'll share some of the discussions that we had. They had valid arguments. I think we had valid arguments as well. And it's good to have discussions like that from time to time. So hopefully from our discussion yesterday, we can maybe clean up a request a little better, unless Commissioner Birkin has something today, and maybe take some action after the first of the year. In particular, we discussed the 911 payment and water service outside of the MRGA. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Fun things.
Commissioner Burkett?
Well, because yours was long,
He took 2 your minute.
yeah, it just knocked off several of mine. I did attend the Mako Winter Conference last week and attended several meetings and academy classes. And but also right before I left for Mako last week, I attended the recognition of Carol Brashear by the Community Foundation of Washington County. Ms. Brashear was awarded the prestigious Volunteer Award as part of the 22nd Annual People's Choice Awards. Ms. Brashear volunteers in her community for the Women's Club and Micah's Backpack, to whom she chose to give a $5,000 endowment fund in her name. Since you said everything, I just want to wish all our Washington County citizens a blessed Christmas and a safe, Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wagner?
Morning. It's good to see so many people out here today. Got the Honorable Mayor Howard Long back here. I see him. But, yeah, again, I'm going to echo that. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We're not going to be back until, the second week in January. So I hope everybody has a wonderful and blessed Christmas. To follow up on Terry's comments about the new hires and their time for sick time and getting paid for off, and I have to agree 100%. If I'm fairly new and I don't have the option from work from home like some people do on certain situations, and I'm on a road department or water quality, or have to be in here for payroll or whatever, I can't imagine if I'm asking you to be exposed to anything that I wouldn't pay you if you got sick. So I agree with that 100%. And John, you're going to follow up on that, I guess. And on Commissioner Kiefer, the volunteers do a wonderful job, and most people never get to hear the presentation we heard, but I think I agree. I think in anybody's personal life or organizational or business life, there's always room for improvement, but I think it does take away sometimes from the wonderful job that we do get it done here in Washington County. It's just maybe we can get it done a little bit better. So that's all that's about. Let's just keep training and keep improving on what we already have. And John, I don't know if you're going to address this or not. I think Commissioner Klein asked you a couple weeks ago about what's happening at Christmas and New Year's with the county staff, or, we haven't had a direction on that yet, or if you're going to be out early or what we're doing there.
Yeah, we'll go ahead.
That's all I have, by the way.
So we can go ahead and discuss that now?
Yeah,
Or if
wait
you
till
want-
we come back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we are
you.
gonna,
I too attended some of the events that were already mentioned, so I won't repeat that. I do want to say the volunteers are the lifeblood of this community. They've saved us millions and millions of dollars in man hours, payroll, equipment. I did think the article and the headlines were especially negative with one incident. We never want anything to occur, so we want to be prepared that would never happen or even come close again. So, but, our volunteers are important. I think this Board of Commissioners are all proud to support our volunteers. And, with that being said, my dad passed away in June, and my aunt, his sister, passed away over the weekend. That was the last member of that generation of 5 brothers and sisters, an all-American family. So I'd like to put in the record that I wanted to honor the memory of my aunt Sis today with a notation in the minutes. So the commissioners would accommodate me with that. And in closing, I do want to say happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year to our employees who every day is a struggle where they work hard for our citizens. We always don't thank them every minute, every day, but know that the commissioners do thank you and appreciate your work. So with that being said, that concludes my report.
Jeff, I did want to mention, I didn't get contacted by the Herald Mail either for that article,
Yeah, same here.
as Commissioner Kiefer
I didn't
said.
have any,
So,
Or did I?
yeah, so sounds like nobody was contacted, and we're sort of the ones involved in that, so that not make me very happy either.
okay, thank you. We'll move on now to staff comments. Dave Mason, I have you listed as first.
Board of Commissioners, Dave Mason with Solid Waste. Just real quick this morning, I'm just here to inform you that we will be continuing our Christmas tree recycling for residents of Washington County this year. No charge at all locations, transfer stations, and at the 40 West landfill.
Yeah.
We'll start accepting trees on December 27th and go all the way through January 31st. We've been doing this for, I don't know how many years, 15 years probably. So just wanted to go ahead and continue offering that service.
And what public relations post that on our social
Be a
media?
press release out this
And-
afternoon. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, I have Dave Hayes, I think, is Dave in the audience? Dave, for comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. I apologize, I wasn't on the agenda for staff comments, but I wanted to echo some comments and give you a little follow-up on what we plan to do a little later today relative to the Herald Mail article and the Carter Lane report. Without question, the volunteer fire and rescue service provides an invaluable service that we could not replace even if we wanted to. It would just be physically impossible. On the backside of that, I do want to recognize that there are a number of career firefighters that also work alongside of them that the county has put in place to try to bring forward the kind of help that likely incidents like Carter Lane need. But the real side of what I wanted to speak to is our plan is to do a press release here sometime later this morning or early afternoon that says much of what I've just articulated here, that does acknowledge that the system has a very dedicated workforce, certainly a strong dedicated volunteer workforce that's supplemented by both corporation and county career staffing. And I don't know which commissioner said it, but I think that's the perfect summation of the Carter Lane report. Is it's an opportunity to take a look at what we're doing and see if we can make changes to prevent future occurrences. And it's an inherently dangerous business that we do. Do I believe without question we can prevent every potential issue like that? I do not. But I do believe there's opportunity. So I'm going to leave it with that and just thank you for allowing me.
Thank you, appreciate those words.
Thank you, David.
Continuing with staff comments, I have Larry Etchison. Larry, you have something for staff comments? No? Okay, I have you down for Okay, that's fine, thank you. I appreciate it. Next, I have Krista.
I have the Washington County Agricultural Education Center. They're requesting to reach a consensus to vote to accept the recommendation to reappoint Joseph Laos to serve a second 3-year term from November 1st, 2021 through October 31st, 2024. Accept the recommendation to reappoint David Moore to serve a second 3-year term from May 1 through April 30th, 2024, and to reappoint Kathleen Carr to serve a third term from May 1, 2021 through August 30th, 2024, and to extend an exception to the 2-term limit as written in County Policy PR 22 and the bylaws.
I'm on that board. They're all three fine people. There
Motion to approve.
you go.
Second.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Krista, is that it?
That's
Okay. Kirk, Mr. Downey, any legal?
Nothing this morning.
Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, President Klein. Good morning, Commissioners. Just a few things. I do also wanted to, Commissioners, and Dave said it perfectly, so I won't try to repeat what they said, but I do want to thank our volunteers. Our volunteers they do a great service for our citizens on a daily basis, and so I just want to echo what's been said here today about our volunteers and our system, and we are constantly working to improve that system, and we will continue to do so. But I just want to personally thank the volunteers for everything they do, again, on a daily basis, 24/7. The second thing I did want to talk about, following up on Randy's comment and Jeff's comment last week about county employees and before Christmas and New Year's, I went back and looked at what we did last year. On the 23rd and the 30th, the county government closed at 1 o'clock on the 23rd and the 30th. The good thing about closing is that we will obviously notify the public if we decide to do that. The county buildings will close, so no one will have to stay behind to answer phones or any of those kind of things. And there will be some essential services that will continue to be provided, and those people will be compensated for that work. So that's what we did last year, so that's the recommendation this year. The county government will close at 1 o'clock on December 23rd and on December 30th. So
Do you need a
If the
consensus
commissioners want
or a
to
vote
discuss
for
that.
that? What do you want?
I think a consensus or a vote would be okay.
Commissioners, anybody want to make a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'm in agreement with this. I think if we do this, maybe we should just make it a standing, holiday closure, only because I know with the issue, I know some employees in some departments, they kind of rotate which holidays they take off or based on seniority. And employees work with each other to take that week off or take certain days off. And then when we end up giving it, turn it on, thank you. And then when we end up giving everyone the day off, then they negotiate it for the day off when we were going to give it off anyway, and they gave up a holiday maybe they would have rather have had off also. So I think this should probably be a standing early closure on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve if we
Yeah,
do
we
it.
can create
And
that every-
Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah,
I think we
I
just-
appreciate that, because I was going to bring that up at another time, just because when we look at the schedule, but I agree with you, because at least in my short time here at the county, in this position, this always comes up, and I know Thanksgiving, we were sort of rushing around at the last minute to try to do that, because I know this board obviously wanted to recognize our employees and to give them a little something extra, and so we appreciate that from the board. So
Yeah, nice sentiment.
we probably want to come back and do that at a later time, but I'll do that. I'll make a note to do that if that's, unless you want to do it today.
You can do it now.
Unless you want to do it now, you can do it now if you want to do that.
I'm good with it.
Included in your comment,
It would be, as you said, it would be,
Thanksgiving Eve.
yeah, Thanksgiving the day before, and then before, on the 23rd and the 30th of December.
30th.
So we can add that as, that's just, it's just an additional holiday. So the holiday will start a little early on all those.
That's just a consensus again.
We're going to do,
We're gonna do
we
that.
have a first and
Yeah,
a
I think you have,
second. We
if
have
you
a
want, can you add
motion.
that to the motion?
Add that to the motion. Okay, is any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
John, that's a nice sentiment, another way to say thank you to our employees. Appreciate
Great.
it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you,
Well,
Commissioners. We appreciate that. And the last thing I just wanted to do, it's our last meeting, so I did want to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of our employees, to the citizens of Washington County, but all of our employees. I personally appreciate all the work that you do all year long. So I hope you have a blessed Christmas, and I think that's all I have today.
Thank you. Any other staff that I missed? Well, holy cow, Susan, we'll have you come first, and then we'll save IT.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Introduce yourself in the matter.
I'll be quick.
Thank you.
Susan Grimes, Director of Business Development. Good morning. I'm here to present to you and ask for a consensus to support, a letter of support to support a letter of support from the commissioners on behalf of Business Development to the City of Hagerstown staff regarding water service request for via Exception 6, which is for the Economic Development Project. So we have a request on a 99-acre property located on the east side of Maryland Route 63, just north of the intersection with Maryland Route 40. It is not a property located within the MRGA, and therefore there is a letter of support that goes before the staff that then would go before the mayor and council for a vote. So I'm just asking for consensus from the commissioners to present this letter to the staff of the city.
Have we reviewed that, or has legal reviewed the letter?
We did. It's a pretty simple template that we utilize between staff.
You sent that one to the commissioners?
Yes, last Tuesday, we talked about it. Yeah, I can
Consensus?
present it to you before if you want to look at it again.
Well, we need to look at it today.
So basically, we're sending a letter of support for this particular business to the city, recommending today give them water.
Correct.
Basically, summary.
And the staff at the city level will look at it first and then present it to the council for the final
So
decision.
it will go staff council.
Right.
Right. And you may have said this, but the city policy requires
Yes,
a letter
this is
from the
part of the-
developer and a letter from the Board of County
Right.
Commissioners
We're
supporting that.
supporting the request from the
And
client.
the business development is all behind this because they need water,
Right.
basically.
Is it likely to be approved, our request for
Probably
water?
not.
We have discussed it, and it looks like there's a pretty good opportunity, but that's always up for discussion on their end. So I'd-
Are you, consensus, send a letter?
Yeah, I'd personally like to see it on record. Yeah, good.
Okay,
We're good to send
right,
it?
there
I'm
you
sorry.
go. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Seeing any other staff remaining, Mr. Neal and Mr. Oliver, would you come forward, have a seat, introduce yourself in the matter?
Joshua O'Neill, Division Director of Information Systems,
Doug Oliver, Senior Tech of Information Systems.
and we're here to recognize Doug. He is up for retirement here in a very short time. He's been with us for a long time, and we just wanted to recognize his years of service to the county and, wish him well as he moves on to the next thing.
How many years is a long time?
32 years and a little over 3 months.
And how many hours you have left?
I got 10 working days after today.
Well, you can do that real
But
quick.
who's counting, huh?
Yeah, who's
Who's
counting?
counting?
I just want to say, I want to thank the commissioners for allowing me to serve the county and its citizens. I've seen a lot of changes in technology since 1989. I mean, it's been a lot of changes, so I appreciate it, and I've worked with a lot of employees, and I appreciate the employees too. So,
Are we allowed to refuse your retirement, or?
if you want to, hey, I mean, that's good.
You gentlemen join me here
The telegraph, huh?
for presentation, and commissioners will get pictures afterwards. First of all, I've known Doug for a long time. It's quite an honor and pleasure to be here to give you this award. I know you also do some chaplain services for our sheriff's department. That's a lot of times and things he's done some very delicate mentoring and education, so very much appreciated for that. So on behalf of the board of the county commissioners, we'd like to present the certificate of appreciation, thank you, to Doug Oliver. The Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, Maryland, would like to commend you for providing 32 years, so there'll be 10 hours, 18 hours, 10 days. Thank you for the correction. Commitment and dedication to Washington County government. You have provided much to your coworkers and to the community through your many dedicated hours, demonstrating a strong work ethic and sharing a wealth of information over the years. We thank you Seeing no further staff comments or anyone coming forward, we will now move forward with citizens' participation. Are there any citizens in the audience? Seeing none coming forward, we'll move on. Next agenda item, insurance renewal for Washington County Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Please come forward, introduce yourselves in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy McCammon, Risk Management Administrator.
I'm Patrick Buck. I'm your insurance broker with CBIZ.
And we're here to present the insurance renewal for the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association that begins January 1st, 2022 and goes through January 1st of 2023. The recommended motion to move to renew the commercial property, auto, and casualty package with VFIS Insurance Company at the estimated premium of $355,921, and the workers' compensation insurance with Chesapeake Employers Insurance Company at the estimated premium of $363,591. Also, renew the additional cyber liability with Hiscox Insurance Company at the estimated premium of $11,682. The renewal quotes from the insurance carriers are reflected on the attached premium comparison. Overall, we had a very good renewal. With the exception of our auto, our claim rates continue to improve, as well as our workers' comp experience modification. The volunteer companies continue to work hard to keep their claim losses down, providing decreases in premiums. The physical impact total premium for all coverages is $731,194. Actual premiums paid for this calendar year, 2021, was $735,664, so there is a savings of $4,470. We are well within our budget, and VFIS does require a down payment January 1st of $90,048. The remaining balance will then be paid in 9 monthly installments. Chesapeake Employers Insurance also requires a down payment January 1st of $72,718, and the remaining balance will also be paid in 9 monthly installments. Concurrences is Larry Etchison, the HR Director. Alternatives would be to do a market bid, but that would create a lapse in coverage. And so with that, do you have any questions?
Just one curious question.
Sure.
Auto went up 8%. The reason, or was it because of?
The market. It's the market. The market for auto is still very tough, and it's, while it feels like it's waning off a little bit, it's still going to be challenging for.
But other than that, looks like it's pretty good.
Yeah, we did a really good job.
I think that speaks to the hard work that the folks within the departments are doing to help reduce those claims and the management, just to support the discussions about their good work from earlier.
Commissioner comments or motion?
Motion to approve.
First and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, funding request from the town of Boonesburg, Reservoir. Thank you for wiping there, appreciate it.
You're almost out over here.
Oh. Take note.
Well, while Paul passes out some handouts to you, on behalf of our Boonesburg town staff and our town employees, we'd like to thank you for your holiday schedule. We follow the suit of what the county does and on your closures for bad weather. So on behalf of our employees, thank you for making that permanent. I know our employees will enjoy that.
Very good.
Also, I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for all that you do for us. We wish you, everyone, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's. And I'd like to also thank you for the confidence in myself and appointing me to the Tri-County Council to serve the Washington County municipalities. I really appreciate your confidence, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. we're here today, we're asking for help. As you probably heard and are glancing at it, our reservoir is about ready. We have a wall that's getting ready to collapse. Randy was there the day the divers went down and found where our leaks were and reported to us one wall. Our reservoir was built in 1954, so it's seen its good years. We have requested, and through the infrastructure plan that the federal government passed, thanks to Van Hollen and Trone, they've told us that there's been written in there $1 million for us from the federal government to help us out. We've contacted numerous secretaries in the state of Maryland and our delegation asking for help too. So I don't know how much they're going to get us. We do have the rescue money that we receive, but gentlemen, we're in the same situation that all municipalities are in. We all have aging infrastructure. Sure, we can take a portion of that to help pay off on the reservoir if we have to, but we do need other infrastructure taken care of throughout the city, and all municipalities are fighting that. So I'm going to turn it over to Paul, and he's going to give you some figures and numbers and how much we're losing and everything. So we don't expect a decision from you today, but if you can help us out with anything, we sure would appreciate it. And we appreciate you letting us be on the agenda, and thank you very much. Paul?
So as many of you know, Boonesboro has a rather large and old water leak. We lose about 30% of our water every year, or 40 million gallons. Staff has been working diligently over the last few years to locate the water leak. We tracked it up to the reservoir, and working with a meter vendor, we were able to borrow a fancy water meter and find out that a lot more water was going into the reservoir than leaving every day. We then completed an electrical resistivity test. I gave you guys the test results in your packets, and located several leaks in and around the reservoir. And then the Frederick County dive team was nice enough to come and do a dive survey. When you're talking about a $4 million replacement, you better be sure that what you have is a leak. And thank you again, Commissioner Wagner and Chief Griffith, for helping us with that. Put eyes on the leak itself. You know, we were able to see sections of the reservoir where the walls are caved in. You know, this is a long-standing water leak. We've been leaking water for at least 20 years. This likely does not represent all of our water loss, but it is a large percentage. You know,
If you would have a collapse, it would create great difficulties, would it not?
Tremendous.
Your water level would go way down.
We share a water system with Keedysville, so if the reservoir were to collapse, we would have water shortages for about 4,800 Washington County residents. And likely flooding, and as you know, there's a Potomac Edison substation immediately downhill from the reservoir. That would likely be impacted. Yeah, it would be catastrophic.
Would it be fair, you said 30%, did I hear you right, 30%? So it'd be fair to say if I poured a glass of water, a third of it would have been leaked away?
That's correct.
That's a lot of water leaving.
It is. We've calculated.
Where's that water go when it leaks out of the reservoir?
So usually in any other part of Maryland, when water leaks, it likely surfaces or eventually surfaces. Washington, or Boonesboro, sits on a particular type of geology that has a lot of caverns underneath of it. So much of our water leaks do not surface, and we have to be much more diligent about leak detection. In this particular case, if you look at the electrical resistivity test, you can actually, it gives you layers all the way down to bedrock. So you can see the water column, you know, descending all the way down to bedrock and then washing out on the bedrock. So it does not surface, it just goes back down into the water table, which isn't so bad until you consider that that's all treated water. And it costs us a lot of money to treat that water every year. We estimate the loss in revenue to be $250,000 a year.
Administrator, you had some comments that just.
I mean, we appreciate, obviously, we had the pleasure to meet with the mayor and talk about this. You know, obviously, the town of Boonesboro is in desperate need for this, and they wanted to come and present their request directly to the commissioners. You know, if the commissioners decide they want to do this, we can, staff can probably identify a few different funding sources for this if the commissioners are interested in directing staff to do that.
My opinion, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, there's some sense of urgency to this, is there not?
What kind of dollar amount would you
Yeah.
suggest or are you looking for?
I think they're looking for.
The total project cost is $4.1 million. Working with Senator Quarterman, we've identified a funding plan which would include $1 million through Senator Van Hollen's office and a congressionally directed spending application. We have another budget request in with the state for another $1 million. We are requesting $1 million from the county, and then the last 1.1 would be paid for using our rescue plan funds. We were allocated $3.1 million in rescue plan funds.
After all the stuff we've done with the rescue money, how much do we have left from this first disbursement?
I don't know if you know that. I'm looking back at Kelsey on the, I mean, she can, if you're thinking about that, we have a group that. Right. So, yeah, Andrew, I don't know if we have about 25 million left, and that's including the money that we anticipate to get in June, I think in June of next year, the second installment. So the committee has been meeting and looking at a number of different projects relating to the priorities that this board had mentioned to us. So we're working on that. We're meeting again this week, and we anticipate to come in January with different projects, from infrastructure projects to, some other economic development projects and things like that we're going to present to you, that you can take a look at. I also understand that we do have some money in reserves if we want to, if the commissioners want to act today.
Yeah, but wouldn't, just not to interrupt, but I guess I just did. I think I would be surprised if we didn't agree to help, but I think we need to see options on, unless the commissioners want to do something. See, I'm thinking if we used it out of this fund, would it be, I don't know enough about it, would it be a mistake? Like Commissioner Burkett mentioned, the rescue money, we use it out of general, we could always pay it back. Would you be able to pay it back? Those are the kind of questions that I would have.
If you wanted to use ARPA, the committee would have to look to see how we would reallocate from projects that have already been identified.
So what you say, we've identified a number of projects to use the ARPA funds. I mean, obviously, that comes to you, and the final decision would rest with this board. So
Could we use both reserve and ARP funds to help this?
You could use a combination of what you wanted to do.
Would we
What the
agree?
timing is,
Would we agree for the million and then contingent on where the funds are coming from, or is that how you would do it?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I thought he said staff was going to give a report as to where we could get the money from.
yeah, I mean, for the ARPA funds, we are, as Kelsey mentioned, we are going to come into the board in January with a number of different
So
recommendations
they're
for you
not
to
going
look
to
at.
talk about where we
as
could
to-
get funding for
and-
this
Right, and
project today?
Kelsey identified, our Budget and Finance Department identified that there is money in reserves that we could use if the commissioner, to
How
cover the
much
entire
money is in
1 million.
reserve?
So of the $9 million that was put in the capital fund at the end of '21, there's still $7.5 million of that.
So we could do it, or we could come back, that's why I didn't know what the timing was, Mayor.
We could use reserve and save the ARP funds for some other projects.
But,
Or you could use or as you said, you could use a combination, you could do half and half, or,
not to muddy the waters, but I think Commissioner Kiefer just said it too. I think you approve it, and then people like Kelsey and Andrew Eshelman up there who's are using, they might find the best way to do it because they already have some of that.
well, I didn't want to get it, but that's exactly what we're doing. We're looking at it, and we're looking at projects that we think this board would be interested in, and which ones can we use ARPA funds, which ones we can't, and trying to identify where other funding sources are to do some of the other projects that this board wants to do.
So what I'm hearing, we were in consensus to approve funding, it's just now we find the sources. So
So you-
can we you need a vote to approve
I was going to say, if you're going to
funding this
approve, you could
project
approve
based
funding,
on
but
mechanisms?
we'd have to determine it. Staff could go back, we'd have to determine where that money's coming from.
Yeah. Can
And
we
if you want
get,
to, if you want to take it out of reserves, or you want to take it out of, half of reserves, half out of ARPA funds, or another, another funding source, but.
can we get a list before January of what you all are already,
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, absolutely. We'll provide.
instead of waiting until January and then?
Is this project on the list?
It is, yeah, we're still meeting, so it's on the list, but I'll tell you, there's more projects on the list than ARPA funds available. And we're still working on that from a staff perspective.
Well, just do what we just said, just approve it, and then we'll worry about the funds, how we do it.
We'll approve it based on contingency where the sources, and that's kind of what your suggestion was?
Yeah, I think that's what he was.
Commissioner Wagner's suggestion, but I agree.
Approve it and instruct staff to come back with some options as to where the funds could come from.
Commissioners, you okay with that idea?
Yeah, I'm good.
With the sense of urgency of the 4,800 people being without water, I think we need to show some confidence that we're placing this as a priority.
I mean, when do you think you're going to hear about your other funding sources?
First quarter for the federal money.
Okay, so we have.
And the same for the state money too.
So we have some time for that. So is there a motion you need to approve this project depending on funding sources? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'd motion to approve depending on funding sources, contingent on funding
On funding
sources.
sources. I mean, that would show your
Second.
commitment. That would show
Yeah.
your commitment today to
Is there
do
a
it.
second for that?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, we appreciate that. We wasn't expecting to hear an answer to that. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
We're taking
Made
a
it.
few weeks sabbatical.
Very good. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you very much.
Next up, proposed Sharpsburg well. Mr. Bradshaw, please come forward, introduce yourself and the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Bradshaw, Director of Environmental Management. Today I'm requesting approval to approve fundings for drilling of a well utilizing general fund capital reserves money. The Environmental Advisory Commission recommended that the county explore the possibility of drilling a well as a supplemental water source for Sharpsburg. The town of Sharpsburg owns the property adjacent to the existing elevated water storage tank and had offered to allow the county to drill a well on their property. The town has an existing well on the property that was drilled in 2011 that is used for irrigation of the town's owned ball fields. The existing well is 182 feet deep and produces 70 gallons a minute. The county has tested the water and found it to have slightly high iron concentration along with higher than normal hardness, but both are treatable. Based on the existing quality and quantity, I calculated what the potential cost savings would be for using the well to supplement 25, 50, and 75% of the water usage. The estimated potential savings are $5,592, $38,569, and $109,103 respectively per year. The only way to determine the potential cost savings more accurately is to know the actual quality and quantity of water, and the only way to determine this is to drill the well. If the well produces similar quantity and quality of water as the existing well, the existing cost to develop the well, provide treatment, and connect it to the system would roughly be $254,813. Any questions?
So your request today is for how much?
$30,000.
$30,000 to drill the well.
And the source of that again is?
Evaluate.
General fund capital reserves.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I have a question. Let's assume best case scenario, large water supply that we can find, and we supplement the water that we draw from the Potomac River. Does this meet Sharpsburg's long-term plan? They have been for a while now wanting, I believe, a well in their community rather than drawing from the Potomac River. Does this solve that dilemma, since we would still be drawing from the Potomac River occasion, I guess?
generally speaking, well water is cheaper to treat versus than the river water. So if we supplement, let's say 75%, the treatment cost for that water would be lower than what we would draw out of the water. So the long-term cost to treat the water would be considerably less. So the impact of rate increases may not be as significant if we're able to develop this well versus not being able to develop a well.
So, and I suppose my question was, because we would still be supplementing water from the Potomac River, does this still meet Sharpsburg's goal that they've had for a while now? I know the mayor of Sharpsburg has talked about this for quite some time. This is his plan basically in its entirety?
This is in line with Mr. Weaver's ideas and suggestions. Yes.
Okay.
And the town has said they would be willing to allow us to drill on their property. If you approve this, of course, then we will have to get all the legal documents prepared before moving forward. But Mr. Weaver has expressed interest that he would like us to move forward with this.
Okay, good.
So 30,000 is just for evaluate what's the gallons per minute and
It's to go in and
quality.
actually physically drill a well, because you never know what you're actually going to get until
Right.
you drill the well. So this would drill the well, and then we would do the testing, determine what the quantity and quality is, and from then I could determine what the actual cost to develop the well would be.
And as you said, the county staff has been in touch with the town. The town's been, and the town actually reached out to us, right? Is that
Yes.
how it initially started? So we've been working closely with them, and they were anxious to at least try to get this process started today, so that's why.
Okay,
I just have a curious question. You have here, the existing well produces 70 gallons per minute.
Yes.
So what does Sharpsburg need to run in terms of gallons per year? If you know that, if you don't, I understand. To run all of the needs that they require.
Sharpsburg uses roughly 100,000 gallons of water a day. So if we run the supplemental well 75%, that'd be 75,000 gallons per day, and the well would have to run roughly 18 hours a day to supply that amount of water.
Yeah, like I said, just calculating some numbers there, and 70 gallons a minute, that sounds like a lot of water to me, but it may not be, I don't know. So what would an
It's-
average well produce?
They're all over the place. I mean, you get down to 10 gallons a minute to 50 gallons a minute. 70 gallons is actually a pretty good well.
if my memory serves me, Sharpsburg's above a gigantic aquifer, is that not correct? There's a resource of water, is that?
It appears to be some previous construction we did down there. They did hit a underground stream of some sort when the sewer was installed in the 80s.
Okay. Commissioners, thoughts, comments, motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Yeah, first and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor,
So
say.
we already had, there was already a motion.
Motion was, who did?
Oh, okay.
Okay, that was discussion, thank you, you already have that. Thank you for the
I think
correction.
there was a second. I know Commissioner Bergen made a
We'll
motion.
double vote and give them 60,000.
And then Randy seconded.
Drill two wells, one for the county.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Then
there are
all
two
in fa-
motions on this one.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Next up. Transcare Act capital funding. Mr. Cerrone. Allison, please introduce yourself in the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Allison Hartshorn, Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Kevin Cerrone, Director of Washington County Transit.
This morning, we're here to move to approve the acceptance of $2,784,236 from the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Transit Administration. This proposed funding is for capital expense relief due to COVID-19. The Washington County Transit is the subrecipient of Federal CARES Act funds in the amount of $2,784,236. And it will be administered by the Maryland Department of Transportation. This is a multi-year project, is documented in the amendment of the previously executed FY20 Annual Transportation Plan. This plan was originally presented to the County Commissioners on September 25th, 2019. And as the subrecipient, these funds these will be for the following capital procurements. 3 medium replacement buses, 2 small replacement buses, 1 support vehicle, and preventative maintenance funding.
Questions?
Any questions?
Any fiscal impact to us?
Zero.
0.
Motion to approve.
I knew that'd get, do we want a third and a fourth on this one?
Magic
Second,
word.
all right, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
And Merry
you.
Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas. Come back soon with those type of things. Next up, I see we have Travis Allen, Mr. Weberly. Welcome, everyone. Please introduce yourselves and the matter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Travis Allen, Comprehensive Planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. Before you this morning is a request to expend monies that are collected in the county's Forest Conservation Fund. When development projects are unable to meet their forest mitigation requirements under the county's Forest Conservation Ordinance, either on or off the development site, one of the other options they have available is to pay into the county's Forest Conservation Fund. These monies, once they are accrued, are then expended to put permanent easements on landowners' properties around Washington County. The county has a memorandum of understanding with the Washington County Soil Conservation District to implement that program. So Elmer Weibly is here this morning to present their candidate to expend $115,350 from that fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for allowing us to bring this to you. We took this project to the Planning Commission last week, and they did concur with it, meeting the intent of the regulations to go forward. The property's off of Jefferson Boulevard, about just under a half a mile from Route 66. Charles Semler, you may know him as Charlie, owns the property. We're seeking to put 20.1 acres under a permanent forest conservation easement. It will remain in forest. The bulk of that is new tree planting along the main stem and tributaries to Beaver Creek. Makes the project particularly important because Beaver Creek's one of our premier trout streams, and even in this area where it occasionally dries up, it's important that we get these forested buffers along the stream. The information was in your packet about it. We'll strive to get the trees planted in spring of '22. However, that depends on being able to get the easement completed. So it may be site preparation and control of some invasive species in the spring, with planting in '23. The estimate of the price is based on pre-COVID tree planting costs that we historically have seen. Having done a project this summer and fall, I know that there are shortages of tree seedlings, and so I anticipate that we'll do our best. We're looking at options to keep it right at the figure that we gave you, but it may be a little higher, but there is adequate funding in the Forest Conservation Fund to take care of that.
You know, I saw this in planning the other night. I sat through this and I heard it was unanimous by the Planning Commission. It's a good idea, right?
It really is. This is land that's best suited to conservation use. The landowner, particularly Charlie Semler, he wants it to protect that, and it's just win-win for everybody. It's the stream we've been focused on for many years, and getting over 15 acres of trees planted along it's very important. A lot of good resources and good use of money to do it.
Yeah, I'd motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any first and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank
Thank
you very
you.
much. Appreciate it, thank you. Next up, rescind bid award, Rick Curry. Mr. Eichelman, please come forward.
Good morning, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
So before you is to rescind bid award intergovernmental cooperative purchase INTG 21-0069 for the purchase and installation of playground equipment for Parks and Recreation. Motion moved to relieve playground specialist Incorporated of Thurmont, Maryland, from the contract without prejudice for the purchase and installation of playground equipment approved by the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County on October 19th, 2021 for Camp Harney Park for a total sum of $194,893.50. Basically, what it came down to is after the award, the department asked for the final submittal of the information for put the purchase requisition into the system. It was discovered that the hardware was not part of that original quote, which originally should have been. So we had discussions with the vendor trying to negotiate to get them to include the hardware, which did not come to fruition. So we're asking that we rescind the bid from Playground Specialties Incorporated of Thurmont, and we'll make the award to another bidder.
Commissioners, comments, thoughts?
I'll motion to rescind the bid.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much. Mr. Curry, I believe you and Mr. Heschman are up next again. Please introduce yourself in the matter.
Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing again.
Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Subject is intergovernmental cooperative purchase and installation of playground equipment, INTG 21-0074 for Parks and Recreation. Recommended motion is to authorize by resolution Parks and Recreation Department to purchase and have installed playground equipment at Camp Harding from Compan Incorporated of Austin, Texas, and to utilize an Omnia contract numbers 201-700-1135 for a total sum of $184,343.92. The Code of Public Law does allow this board to enter into agreement and contracts for goods and services that were procured by another jurisdiction. It would save money by not preparing a bid and going through the bidding process. As you can see, funds are budgeted for this. There's an alternative if you do not wish to award this contract to Compan Incorporated, and also Compan's quote dated November 24th is attached. Are there any questions?
Motion to approve the intergovernmental cooperative purchase.
Second. First and second. Any further discussion?
Is that, did the price go down?
It's actually, yes, $10,000 less than the bid that we just rescinded.
For the exact same thing?
No, that's why each vendor has their own playground equipment, and so we kind of meet with them to look at the proposals. And so it's you'll get a similar playground system and equipment to try to compare equivalency, but it was different equipment from a different vendor.
All right.
I have first and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next up, amendment to PUR-1423. Major Craig Rowe, please introduce yourself in the matter. Welcome.
Sir, good morning. Major Craig Rowe, Warden of the Washington County Detention Center. Here to make a motion that you approve the amendment to purchase PUR 1423. The Washington County Sheriff's Office was approved by the Board of County Commissioners to accept grant funding from the Opioid Operational Command Center to support the jail-based medication-assisted treatment and reentry program in the amount of $293,557.60 on July 20, 2021. The grant included $101,280 to be paid to Prime Care Medical for additional provider and nursing time requirements of the MAT program. Maryland House Bill 116 requires an additional 6 counties to begin providing the medication-assisted treatment in detention centers by October 1st, including the Washington County Detention Center. And they're going to require all counties by January of 2023 in the state. The Opioid Operational Command Center provided grant funds to begin and support the jail-based medication-assisted treatment and reentry program. Funds are allocated to provide a part-time certified registered nurse practitioner or physician's assistant for the MAT evaluation and prescribing, along with a full-time registered nurse for dosing the medication. The amendment to PUR-1423 will increase the monthly payment to Prime Care Medical for the duration of the grant period and will be paid for by the already approved grant funding.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sirs. Merry Christmas to y'all.
Merry Christmas to you as well.
Merry Christmas.
Next on the agenda, the CFO discussion, staffing agency recruitment. Mr. Etchison, please introduce yourself in the matter. Good day to you.
Good day to you. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Etchison, Director of Human Resources. Today, I'd like to talk with you about the recruitment of the new CFO position. And the recommended motion is to approve the use of a staff and agency contingency search option with regards to the recruitment and replacement of the new CFO. As you saw on the chart there, there's some advantages to using the contingency versus a retained search. Contingency search agencies are only paid if they provide the candidate that is hired, versus a retained search is paid regardless of the outcome, even if you don't hire anyone through them. Also, you have no exclusivity with contingency searches, so you could have multiple agencies providing you candidates versus, again, with a retained search, you would pay for additional ones. Also, a candidate that might actually be potentially watching this video now live or recorded and say, I would like to apply for that position. If they applied directly to us and then the Board of Commissioners would approve that candidate, we would not have any fee at that point unless they come through the contingency agency. Also, finally is the percentage of fee is somewhat less, in some cases significantly less, to use contingency search agencies versus a retained search. Finally, as recommended below, if you only wanted to go with one contingency agency versus multiple, I would definitely recommend that we go with Spherion, whose professional services for the 4-state region are actually headquartered out of Hagerstown. The gentleman who runs that facility is one of their top producers, and he's also a resident of Washington County.
Commissioners, thoughts, comments?
Did Spherion just change hands? Do we know that?
No, Spherion has been quite some time. I've actually had the pleasure of working with Spherion. You probably know them more in many cases.
The director or the owner of Spherion out here locally.
No, he's been there for quite some time.
So they didn't sell and just change hands?
Not that I know of, sir, but he's been directing there for quite some time.
You were getting ready to say we may know them as?
Oh, Spherion oftentimes is best known in many cases for that type of hiring that you might do for manufacturing, temporary staffing, but they also have a very well-developed professional services group. I've had the pleasure of working with them in many cases, and they've always produced good results.
If a candidate were to apply directly with the county, then would we forward their application to the employment agency? Because I thought one of the things the employment agency would do for us is provide a list of candidates that were qualified. So how would we get the application from us to the employment agency? Not how would we, I'm sorry, that's how it would work, right?
Well, you could do that, but that would actually increase your costs. So let me get back. So if the agency, a contingency agency, any one, if they provide the candidates, you all selected that candidate, got hired, that's how they get paid.
Yeah.
If a candidate would self-referral and come right to the county and say, wow, that's a good candidate, if you don't give them to the agency then to go, we wouldn't have the fee.
I'm just going to interrupt. I'm not in agreement. I want all candidates to be referred to because I think that's what we had earlier agreed on to keep. All I want, my personal opinion, is the final 5, 3, whatever candidates referred back from whoever we select. I don't want to deal with the individual applications ourselves.
So then if an individual application came at that point, we would just refer it to the agency.
Yeah, and I think in any advertisement or anything about that, it would clearly state applications go to that agency or agencies, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but that wouldn't prevent somebody from just sending you something.
Yeah, and that might be a rare occurrence.
Just to answer the question, no, it could be referred to the agency, and then if you hired that particular candidate, yes, the agency would
I guess
get
what
it.
you want, do we want multiple agencies, or did we want to single one out?
Just not to interrupt, because then we wouldn't be putting that, the agency would put that out. We wouldn't put anything out on our.
Oh, no.
We wouldn't do any of that, so.
We wouldn't be putting anything out. At this point, when we turn it over to the agencies, we would let them do the work. I'm just, It's not uncommon for someone to self-apply directly to wherever.
Well, then my wish is that's referred back to the agency, not through us.
Did you say it would cost more to
Okay,
send them
clarity's
the
fine.
application?
I'm sorry, sir.
Did you say it would cost us more to send them the
No,
application?
but we would pay the fee if we ended up hiring that particular candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I've from the beginning have been against using an outside service for this. I mean, this is why we pay Larry to do his job. I can't see paying $30,000, $40,000 to an outside company to do this job that I think we could be able, or that we could do in-house. I know the other commissioners disagree with me, but I would make a motion that we, well, I don't even understand why we wouldn't accept an application that comes into us
That's not
directly.
part of the
But
agenda. I disagree with that. I want to go through an agency. Mr. Wagner's done left the room.
He said he'd be right back.
Yeah.
Well, I was getting ready to make the motion that we approve what Larry is offering here, to approve the staffing agency contingency search option with regards to the recruitment and placement of a new chief officer, and that we go with the service recommended by Larry.
Yeah, I don't understand the motion. Are we still sending, what agency are you recommending? Because
If we were only using one contingency agency, I would recommend the Spherion out of Washington. The issue again with contingency, if you went with that, you could have multiple agencies bringing you candidates. So that's a different decision as well with the contingency search. If you want to use multiple agencies, we can. Again, all of those candidates would come out of the agencies directly to the receiver, or we could just use one contingency agency. That's your call. If it's only one, I would definitely recommend the Spherion.
Okay. All right, I have a motion, and would you repeat your motion, Commissioner Burkett, for clarity? Would you repeat it?
I make the motion that we go with, you said Experion?
Spherion, yes.
As Larry's recommending.
I guess I got another, oh, you got to get a second first?
You're going to have a discussion, or we can let this die for lack of a second, then we can go back for discussion for overall. Is there a second? Hearing none, motion dies. Now back to discussion. Mr. Wagner?
What would be the disadvantage of going with 3 or 4 contingency agencies? Wouldn't that bring, field in more candidates?
Well, yes, it does, sir. It does bring in more candidates, and that's what I mean. You can expand the field without expanding the cost, because you would only pay for a candidate from that agency if you hired them through that agency.
Why would I not want, instead of one agency finding 10 candidates, 4 agencies finding 50 candidates?
Well, that would be my contention. I just, again, put that if you only wanted to use one agency, I would recommend the Spherion. My thought process is I would use as many agencies as possible on a contingency search.
I thought you were only saying that you were recommending.
No, I'm sorry. It says,
Okay,
should
well,
the committee,
clarification.
should the commissioners only want one? That would be the one I
Okay,
would pick.
Well, thank you for clarifying that.
Anybody that be the rare occasion, submitted an application resume to us would go to one of those
Right.
companies.
That's fine.
I don't want I want the final candidates for us to review, not the applications.
That can be done. I just wanted to explain
So
what
Wayne,
that would mean.
yeah, Wayne has a question.
I do.
Sir.
So you're not recommending we go with a retained search agency because we would pay them a fee regardless of whether or not they brought a
That is
viable
correct.
candidate to us?
That is correct.
What happens if a contingency search agency, what if someone applies for the same position but with 2 different search agencies and they both bring that name forward? Do we have to pay both of them the same fee?
We do not. The way it works on contingency is first one in, everybody dates it, everybody knows it. First
Okay.
one in is the one that's in. So
So-
we could get in 2 days, maybe 3 agencies send us the same candidate.
First one
First
in.
candidate sends it, that's where it is.
My other question, all these agencies, professional sites, some of them have special, more sophisticated software. Like one of the agencies that I remember when we were doing the county administrator was the International City County Management, I'm saying it wrong, service. There's the Government Finance with the Officer Association. These professional executive search companies will reach out to those companies, correct?
That is
So
correct.
that's how they'll recruit some of their candidates?
There's no doubt that they won't. In today's internet, high volume item, most of these firms, why they go with contingency, and most do, is because they can source candidates very, very quickly with the technology and today. They'll source these candidates very fast.
And All right, thoughts?
So you have 4 contingencies that are interested. My thought would be give the candidate, the recruitment to all 4. That would be my thought.
What's the downside?
Really, there is none. There's no downside to having multiple contingencies working. Again, you have to have a contingency that doesn't have exclusivity. These 4 don't. There could be others that don't. You have no downside on your end. The upside is that you're expanding the candidate pool. You have more resources to find your candidates.
All right, there's an explanation.
So then I would motion that we use all 4 in your report for a candidate search for CFO.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I'll just comment, I don't know why we didn't do this for the county administrator search, but I'm sure there's a reason.
Well, I think this will expedite. The county administrator search went like from the end of March to, you didn't start to December 28th, by the way, with an anniversary coming up. I haven't forgotten.
We would have had a lot less hassles and heartache during that process that we did have.
You're correct.
If we would have gone through.
And this is why I
recruitment
sort of
agency.
favor this process. So I have a first and a second. My only comment is that any independent applications resume goes to them.
Yes.
All 4, right? That's how it goes. And
Well, if we get an independent one, we would have to pump it. Pumping it to all 4, that could be a little problematic. We would have to pump it to 1.
Choose one of the ones that are at 20%.
And the other thing, on our end, just for clarity, do we advertise this position with those companies? How do we handle it on our?
I wouldn't, sir. That's part of their fee. I would let them just rock and roll at this point.
That's okay. I just wanted that.
Right. I would let them rock and roll. But like I said, and I clearly understand, if we get that one off, it gets pumped to an agency and then they take over.
Okay, I have first and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and Merry Christmas and Happy New
Merry
Year
Christmas
to you all.
to you as well.
Thank you.
I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much.